Hi everyone, this is Lada from astrolada.com and I'm here to do your July 2018 horoscope together with Mila. Mila is 3 months. Say hi, Mila. She's been my source of strength because the July horoscopes 2018 and August, these are the two most extreme months of 2018. Guys, lives will be transformed, fates will take a new direction, changes on an epochal way because we have two huge eclipses happening, and we also are going to, hey Mila, and we have Mars retrograde and Mercury going retrograde. I would walk you through all of this. I just wanted you first to have some fun, see Mila, to start on a positive tone, and we will end also on a positive note, talking about Jupiter going direct and how you can benefit from that. But be prepared for one of the most intense, exciting months, possibly also the most difficult months, July and August together. I'm just gonna drop Mila to my mom. Hey, say bye, Mila. Bye. Wish everyone luck during the eclipses. Wish them luck to have the best results possible. There you go. Thank you. And why are these months, especially July and August, so crazy? Well, people who are yearning for a change, for a big change in their life, people that want to totally transform their thinking and certain areas of their lives, they might actually have a blast this month and consider it one of the most powerful and one of the most positive experiences of their life. But eclipses always bring some crisis of a sort. And eclipses, and I'm making the same intro for everyone, for all the 12 signs. I want you to listen to it because it gives us a lot of insights, and then I'll speak specifically how it affects each of the 12 signs. But before I start, I just wanted to tell you that on the 8th of July we have a webinar with Nicole Stojanovic on what in astrology gives the richest people. Nicole Stojanovic is a favorite of many of you, so I'm looking forward to have you on that webinar preceding the eclipses. And the first eclipse is a solar eclipse in July and the 11th, which is caused together by Rahu. Rahu is the north node of the sun. And eclipses are about karmic events, things that you have like a contract about even before you're born, the big events that happen in our life, the big transformations of consciousness, the big leaps to the next level. And sometimes, often it happens through crisis, because only big transformation comes through crisis. This is the nature of humans. Very few humans are inspired towards change because everything is okay and they're inspired to make it even better or to grow spiritually. The solar eclipse is weaker though. The solar eclipse is weaker than the lunar eclipse that follows. But the whole July, I'll be more careful about starting things like buying properties or signing contracts, or, because especially a few days before and after an eclipse, it's the light is hidden. The light of the sun or the moon are hidden, and it means that there's a lot of confusion. The eclipses act as portals for invisible forces to come and create chaos, and out of this chaos new beginnings and changes can build. But you don't want to make big decisions, especially when it comes to the second eclipse, the lunar eclipse, which is the strongest in 120 years eclipse, the most strong lunar eclipse in 120 years, that is closest to Earth, and it's gonna be seen in most of Africa, Europe, and in Asia as well. Extremely powerful eclipse. I would advise you a week before this eclipse and a week after the July 27th. And then there is another eclipse in August. This summer, there are 3 eclipses in a row, guys. Very karmic events are about to happen, and very fated events. I mean, things that happen on eclipses are people getting pregnant, birth of babies, things that, and usually within the month of the eclipse. You can feel it a month before, a month after, sometimes even 2 months after. But this is when our lives turn around, and some eclipses take from us because they want to teach us about detachment. That will be the lunar eclipse. It will be about losing things, letting go of things. And some eclipses give us things, so we can further incarnate, and so we can fulfill certain desires that we have, because the purpose of the eclipses are spiritual and soul evolution. And the evolution of the soul happens by, first, there are 2 ways that it happens: that our desires that we have are fulfilled, so we realize that we've been chasing an illusion. For example, you really want to be rich, or you really want to have that guy, or all you always wanted was to have a child, all you always wanted was to have this business. And Rahu eclipses, which is the first one, the solar eclipse, gives us those things. And once we have them, we realize that it's an illusion, that it does not is that not fully create what happiness is for us. So we're still searching inside. But Rahu gives. So in Western astrology, we tend to like Rahu because it's an eclipse. When Rahu is involved in an eclipse, we receive things, we get things, and usually, again, though, they're preceded by some crisis, because a big change and big transformation always involves some kind of crisis. And sudden, it's usually very surprising when eclipses come, but usually it's something that you've had to do for a long time, but you've been postponing, or you didn't have the willpower, and now other sources, other powers take over and start acting through you. And, like eclipses bring things to culmination, so to speak. And maybe you've wanted something for a long time, and this Rahu eclipse now can give it to you, but it might be again preceded by some kind of crisis, but it will be some kind of new beginnings, because solar eclipse is when the sun and the moon are together, creation of something new, female and male polarities are joining together to create new life. But because of Rahu, which is considered a demonic influence, it happens through some kind of shake-up in our life. But this is when it's contracted. It's what's had to happen. There were 2 eclipses on my moon in the last year and a half, and the moon is motherhood, and I got pregnant both times, maybe a month before, a month after. But usually the eclipses, it doesn't mean it will happen on the 11th of July. It means that if something new comes into your life, it might come a month before or a couple of months after. But the eclipses are like those beacons that say that something fated is going to happen in your life. And as I said, the Rahu eclipse, the first one, brings something through crisis, sudden new beginnings, transformations, because Rahu and Ketu, that cause the eclipses, the north and south lunar nodes of the moon, the mythology about them is that they were nagas, which is snakes, dragon. They were a dragon that was cut in two, and the symbology of dragons is that they shed their skin, and snakes as well, for transformation. So the big thing to remember about eclipses is big transformations, and they're never easy. It means about the light is hidden for a little bit, so it's almost like you might feel like something like a metaphorical death of some sort, a death of a part of your life, a death of an old part of you, but so that again the sun or the moon can be reborn when the darkness of the eclipse is removed from them, and because chaos ensues first of some sort, before again the king and the queen, the sun and the moon, can take reign over your life and make it run according to kind of more predictable and normal patterns. But while around the eclipse, a couple of months around, I would say some of you would feel it already from June, some would feel it into August as well, but July is the most intense. There is this darkening. People start to get confused or to change direction in their life. They get sudden changes and transformations are starting to happen. And while it's dark, there are a lot of fears. And we're like, what does the future hold? Rahu eclipses prepare us for the future. They bring new karma. And again, it can bring a lot of fears. When I got pregnant both times, I was full of fears, It's a crisis on the mentality. Even if it gives you something, it's a crisis on your whole lifestyle, on your whole expectation for whatever you wanted for yourself. And then there's something new that comes that is fated, that's totally going to change your life. So this Rahu eclipse on the July the 11th will bring something like that. It gives things, it gives transformations, but through some kind of sudden crisis. New karma is created, then strong passions. Rahu is the mouth of the dragon. The dragon has 2 parts, Rahu and Ketu. The mouth of the dragon is Rahu. It's insatiable. It's something that we want to grab from life more and more. So often, sometimes people can even fall in love around eclipses, and especially Rahu eclipses, in a crazy way that they lose their mind. And because of that, their whole life transforms, and they can do something passionate and intense. That's almost like eclipse of the mind. The sun is our conscious ability to make conscious choices. And Rahu darkens that. The eclipse happens on the sun, so you kind of lose your mind over someone with strong passions and stuff like that. While the next eclipse, July 27th lunar eclipse, is, as I said, the strongest eclipse is going to be seen, especially if you're in the path of the eclipse. If you are able to see that eclipse, your life will definitely be so strongly impacted. But for the whole of the world, I warn you, quite an intense eclipse. It's conjunct Mars, and Mars is retrograde. Mars is a very violent star when it's retrograde. It's much closer to Earth. So, and Ketu means past life. When an eclipse involves Ketu, it's about past lifetimes or past karma, something from the past, and especially that creates a lot of frustration or angry reaction on us. So kind of a old slumbering karma of anger can come to the surface during that time, a week before or a whole month after that. I would say the whole month, this is active, and you can feel like strong, intense emotions. And also it has a square to Uranus, the eclipse, by the way. And Uranus and Mars ultimately want to give freedom and liberation to a person from something. They make you so angry about something. Mars, especially retrograde, you're like, I can no longer tolerate that. There's so much like pent up fire that is starting like volcano to erupt. Be careful not to erupt and lose your minds again, lose your heads when the moon is eclipsed. The weeks before and after, we can do crazy stuff that we regret. I mean, the last time the moon was, Mars was with Ketu, there were quite some famous suicides of Anthony Bourdain and Kate Spade on the exact day. So people can lose their mind, and this time is much more powerful because Mars is retrograde, so much closer to Earth, much more intense. The influences are way more karmic. It's bringing anger, pain. Mars is all those things from the very bottom of your soul, from past lifetimes, from earlier periods in your life, something from the past. Ketu rules the past. This kind of anger and this pain is going to erupt now on the surface, but the ultimate goal of Ketu eclipses is to release it, to release that anger, or to use that anger to detach yourself from something from the past that is no longer necessary in your life. So there will be powerful endings. Losing something. Ketu is about letting go of something. I don't know if you see it well here, but letting go of something. Ketu is the tail of the dragon. While Rahu takes something, that's why we usually get something in life during Rahu eclipses or around the months around it. In Ketu eclipses, we let go of something. It's the tail where you excrete. So where old karma, the baggage we all carry a lot of baggage with us, and that's Ketu, the karma. And we need to travel lightly on our path. And when the baggage becomes too much, it's like we can't move forward. But we're so afraid to lose something. We're so afraid to lose a relationship. We're so afraid to lose a safety of some sort. We're so afraid to lose a job or whatever. And Ketu comes, and there is a Ketu eclipse, and says enough. Yes, you've been thinking about that, but you haven't had the strength to do it. Now you're letting it go, and there is no choice. Power stronger than you take over, karmic powers, and you have to drop that baggage that you've been carrying with you from past lifetimes or from past experiences, or something that is no longer necessary in your life. It can almost be severed, just like Ketu and Rahu, the head of the dragon and the tail, was severed by the gods because they tried to be immortal. The same way something can sometimes, even literally, when there is an eclipse of Ketu on someone's ascendant or something of the body, there might be a part of the body that gets severed. That's very extreme cases, hopefully not for you. It's happening on my ascendant. I hope I don't come with one leg less or something by the end of that. But it's about letting go of certain chapter of your life, and it's going to happen in a violent way, or it's going to happen because Mars is our willpower, and it's going to happen because we get angry, or because we're like, okay, now I have much more stronger willpower to do that. And Uranus is also about cutting connections and about changing something in a powerful way, in a sudden way. So this eclipse is really what I'm gonna focus on a lot in those predictions, but ending about karma. So the positive thing of it is, yes, we can lose something. We have to change totally the direction of something, let go of something. But we can also release old karma, that is heavy baggage. We can also release, complete something. We can, if we've been burdened with a karmic disease or with a karmic unhealthy obsession or something, we might finally be able to detach from it in some way. It's a big karmic conclusion, and for every person it's in a different area of their life. Just be careful for very extreme emotional reactions, because the moon is our feelings. It's being eclipsed. It feels as if some people might become hysterical, panicky around that time. But remember, this is a period of big alchemical transmutation that's happening in your subconscious. The layers of your karma are being rearranged, are being cleansed, are being, kind of like gods and powers above us rearranging those things for us. And it's fearful, it's scary, it can feel confusing, it can feel exhilarating for some people. It is rare, but for some people they can. And after that, I guess even in August it continues, but we'll speak about that in the August videos. And so, yes, I just want you to remember, yes, it will be an intense month for every person. These things can be happening, those big transformations that the snakes, Rahu and Ketu, the eclipses want to create in our life, the hiding of the light from us, basically the sun and the moon are our consciousness, our feelings and our consciousness. When those two are blocked and hidden by the eclipses, which is what Rahu and Ketu, these are the dragons that swallow the sun or the moon according to mythology, we lose. Darkness happens, it's like a metaphorical death, and the new rebirth of light comes again, the light of the sun or the moon. So our life comes up out of the darkness, emerges after the eclipses on a new level, on a new direction. So big transformations, guys. Ultimately, it can be used for good people that have been craving for transformations for a long time. It might be now for them. And of course, it's very hard to predict how exactly eclipse will affect a person. Even if I have your chart specifically, I can say more who exactly will feel it the most. If you have a planet exactly on those degrees, this one is at 4 degrees Aquarius, so anything, and this one is at 20 degrees Cancer. But again, everyone will be affected somehow. They have those degrees somewhere in their horoscope, certain area of their life. And I would like you to check your ascendant sign for this prediction, and of course your sun sign, but always the ascendant sign is more important. And of course, not everyone will have those big transformations. The eclipse is twice a year, every year, but still let's see where you can go through big changes, big transformations. Okay, Pisces. How are the eclipses affecting you? Well, the first one, which is actually the weaker one, falls in your 5th house, Pisces, of romantic, the house of romance, of love, and it's an eclipse that can turn things around. Actually, it's an eclipse that gives things. Remember, it's a Rahu eclipse. And even though it might create some sudden crisis that comes, but this sudden crisis can lead to you gaining something through love, through a love relationship, or maybe you can lose your head about something and, kind of some crisis in your love life that can lead to actually to strengthen your position somehow. Or it can just mean like suddenly some appearance of someone new in your life, for example, romantic interest, especially someone. Rahu rules people that are foreign or that are different or that are very new. It's not going to be someone that you've known from before that appears, someone that you've liked before. It's someone that's new, that's exciting, that's very different, that can bring up very strong passions in you. But again, it can create some crisis for you because it happens fast and it's intense, and it's a new beginnings in that area. And it's temptation as well. Again, what if you're married and this kind of person appears to stir up your passions? It can be a temptation that this eclipse causes and some problem. But on another level, the 5th house is your creative project. So whether you're knitting a carpet or whatever, or whether you're making a new website, or whether you're making a collection of clothes, anything that you use your creative intelligence, or whether you're making a new company and making the business plan for the new company, that's again creating something. So that can have some inspirations, some crisis or something that makes you dissatisfied, can push you in developing strong ambition and passion to create something new. And to start like a new beginnings in regards to some creation, to start some new creative project. If you're dissatisfied with something, for example, and you say, oh, I don't like how my business is, scrapping it and I'm starting a new business. I'm starting it. 5th house is bringing something from little as a baby and growing it through your own ideas, so you can get such new ideas now. In regards to that, but also be careful because in eclipse those sudden crises in love relationships can happen, or with your children. If you have a child, it can indicate that something changes there, some big transformation happens in the life of the child. It starts a new stage of their life, some big new thing can come for them that they might feel daunted by. But it's gonna lead them for them to gain something, to grow up, to go up, to create new karma, in a sense, new opportunities as well. And If you're sometimes actually an eclipse in the fifth house can indicate, which is Rahu causing eclipse, can indicate gaining of a child within a few months after the eclipse, so pregnancy of some sort. So if you want that, or if you don't want, and don't worry as well, because if you're Pisces ascendant, you're gonna have eclipses in Cancer for a year and a half or two. So it's not the only time these things can happen. But then there is another eclipse which is happening in your 12th house. And usually, if you're Pisces sun, often Pisces sun people have either Venus or Mercury in Aquarius where the eclipse is happening. Do check whether you have Venus or Mercury in Aquarius, because then you might have to let go of something in regards to that planet if you have it in Aquarius. If it's Venus, let go of relationship, or let go of some agreement. If it's Mars, let go of some friendship, or something like that. But otherwise, it happens in your fourth house, Pisces. And sorry, fourth house, 12th house. You see, Pisces is always the last sign, and I'm always so tired by then that I keep speaking out of, almost like I'm channeling now. I'm not thinking. Whatever information comes, I just say it. So it's happening in your 12th house, which is the house of endings and the house of completions. And this eclipse is about endings and completions and letting go of something. And the 12th house is the house of letting go. So it's a very spiritual influence. The South Node eclipses are highly spiritual. They open us to influences from the invisible worlds. They make us highly psychic. And the 12th house is very psychic, so it's like, and you're Pisces, you're psychic. The 12th house is the house of Pisces, naturally, because it's the 12th sign, Pisces. And an eclipse in your 12th house kind of brings to the surface this psychic energy, the dreams in the dream. Through the dream world, the 12th house rules our sleeping. You might have problems sleeping because Mars is retrograde in your 12th house. You might be waking up more often. You might be, having premonitions of sort. You might be kind of sweating in your dream. You might be dreaming very violent dreams against the state while Mars is retrograde. But it's almost like you're releasing past life karma through that. And even if you experience this through dream violent or aggressive things or kind of disturbing and scary things, it's because this eclipse is causing you with Ketu to let go and to release basically some very violent past life karma or anger from past lifetimes or from early in your life that you've even forgotten about. You've buried it there, but it's become like a stumbling block for your happiness because it subconsciously sabotages you. It's some anger or some pain that is hidden in that store of the 12th house, which is our subconscious memory, which we don't have access to, that Mars stirs shit up there. You start feeling this kind of an inexplicable anger or anxiety or worry, because the lunar eclipse always causes that, and you're kind of much more susceptible to astral influences and entities, because the eclipses cause portals of those entities to kind of come over on the earth and to make some mess so they can change the karmic directions. But God uses those entities, for good as well. Yes, it can feel freaky and scary while it's happening, emotionally intense, but everyone serves the higher purpose of evolution, even the darker entities. So something is happening there, guys. Looked from the highest level, for me, you're going through a psychological process of purging and cleansing that's happening almost on the subconscious level, where you're releasing past life attachment and emotional 12th house is one of the houses of addictions, like emotional addictions, so self-sabotaging behaviors that are being released for you, and suddenly cutting connections with those things, because Uranus and Mars are planets that are more violent. They do it suddenly as well, and it can involve like letting go of some old past life identity as well. And there might be actually the remembrance of such identity, and the remembrance will liberate you, because Ketu, the ultimate purpose of Ketu, it's first of all, the 12th house is past lifetime, so is Ketu. And the ultimate purpose of Ketu in the 12th house is to liberate you from something. And the remembrance of some past lifetime or something from the past that you've forgotten and buried, which you can start thinking suddenly about, or start remembering in your dreams or whatever, this can liberate you from that from the undermining influence of that thing that you've even forgotten about. I hope it's not too complicated. Okay, so kind of a theme of letting go, but it's very Piscean theme, and Pisces, I think you can navigate the waters of this eclipse better than most of the other signs because it's happening in the 12th house, which is the house that Pisces about let go and let God, and very strong psychic feelings will be flowing in the air for you as well. So yeah, interesting month. So another thing that is happening, Pisces, is that Mercury is going retrograde in your 6th house, and that means the 6th house is the house of work. So maybe some old work project comes because you've omitted something, you have to fix it to improve it. Maybe some old work responsibility come to be completed. Maybe your space requires rearrangement. 6th house is the house of order, of creating, what's that called, like better organizations. So you might be required on a daily level, on a everyday level, basically, to reorganize a little bit your space while all those other chaotic things are happening, those eclipses and the 12th house influence of letting go and letting God. In order for you not to feel totally out of control and overwhelmed by those astral forces beyond your control, I would advise you, especially when Mercury goes retrograde from the last 10 days in July, you put some order into yourself by putting order around you. So like organize your wardrobe organize practical material things, put order in your house, on your desk chin, on your work desktop, in your office. Just organize things there, and that will make you feel like you have a bit more control, and that will make you feel like and that's what Mercury retrograde in the 6th house usually requires anyway. And it can be about if you're getting some diagnosis for health and Mercury is retrograde, you might have to get a second diagnosis after that, because Mercury retrograde often it changes once it turns direct. Or if you're getting a second diagnosis already and Mercury is retrograde, this can be the time to do it, to re-examine the first diagnosis, Mercury in the 6th house. If you might be re-examining some debts of yours. The 6th house rules debt, so maybe remortgaging or refinancing something in regards to your debt, or kind of rebudgeting how to do better how to better cope in more manageable way with some debt as well when Mercury goes retrograde. Okay, and what else? Jupiter is going direct in your ninth house, but Jupiter rules you, Pisces. So you might start feeling like, once Jupiter starts turning direct from the 10th of July, like things start basically becoming more like there is a shift in direction in your life, but for the positive as well. Because, Jupiter becomes direct and every year, but it's some situation that's been complicated will start improving for Pisces. Because Jupiter rules your whole horoscope, I cannot say specifically which situation. It can be connected to your career because Jupiter rules the 10th house as well. That starts improving and starts moving forward. And it can also be connected to generally with something in your life because ruling the 1st house, it's all about your direction in life. And because it's in the 9th house, maybe you can receive some legal document that you've been expecting to legalize something, or you can start if you're doing some legal or battle court, for example, which is the 9th house. Maybe when Jupiter starts moving direct, the judge can be more benevolent towards you, or like those legal matters can start improving, and if there are some complications, they can start coming into your favor. The 9th house is higher education. If you've been putting hard efforts in higher education, now you start seeing the results of that. Or maybe now if there were some complications, now clarity starts coming, some positive developments in regards to your higher education will come. If you've been pre-qualifying for something, Jupiter retrograde maybe required you to put a lot more efforts, and now possibly because of those efforts you start feeling like you start seeing the results of them. If you want to travel somewhere, Jupiter turning direct, and you haven't been able to travel, and Jupiter turning direct in your 9th house, now can be the time when you can finally take that travel far away, So that's what I have for you guys, and hope you enjoy that. Don't get scared. Eclipses happen every year, twice a year. They're just a bit more intense periods, and hopefully that helps you to navigate them. Thank you.